Hello, I'm really excited for today's video. I'm doing a no spend period at the moment, but my one caveat when I entered that was that if this product came back in stock, then I would be allowed to get it. And so I've got the lovely Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau set. I saw this paint set being used a couple of months ago and instantly fell in love with the colours. It's no secret that I really enjoy pastel colours, and I was intrigued by these because it says that it can be used as gouache or watered down for use as a watercolour. The only other Gansai Tambi from Kuretake that I've got are these starry colours. I reviewed these in my black and metallics watercolour video a little while back, but I'm not sure that metallic paints are the best way to judge like flat colour paints. So I am genuinely curious about these. This box is absolutely gorgeous. Right, let's get to it. We've taken one of the pans out, and it's nice that it's got the information, the paint name and number printed on the bottom. So I haven't pre-wet these. I wanted to see what they re-wet like. Completely dry. Re-wet very nicely. Very creamy paint. I'm going to try and do mass tone on one side of the circle, and then I'll water it out on the other. These are really enjoyable paints. I'm just using Canson XL budget watercolour paper, which I actually really like for just playing around on. But as it's just pulp, some areas are going to absorb faster than others, and so you'll get more variation in how the paint dries. But I think that's a reflection of the paper rather than the paint. I actually quite like it. Okay, now we've got mauve taupe. That's the first page done, the first half. They are lovely. Vermilion doesn't blend in as such a pastel colour, but it's a nice contrast. So you can see what I mean about using the pulp paper. This area here is dried already, and the wet area is kind of encroaching on the dry area a bit, and we get left with these lines, which, as I say, I don't mind. I like some variety and interest, but I'm sure you'd get much smoother with 100% cotton. Now we move into the deeper colours. Cobalt green. You can see it's still got that white pigment appearance to it. I bought these online in the UK from Budley Crafts. I was toying with the idea of buying the individual pans, but then I was like, well, no, I've had a lot of paint recently. I've got enough to be getting on with to play with. And I'm kind of glad I waited, because the packaging and having them all together like that is super lovely. Just give you some idea of how they re-wet. So within a couple of strokes, got a nice loaded up brush. This is beige grey. Just show you another re-wetting. You see what I mean about the nice long pans to draw across. So I'd say that all the paints re-wet in a similarly easy way. They're very, yeah, they're very uniform. All lovely and smooth. I think they flow better than I was expecting them to. I thought they might be more sluggish than that. So to try out the paints, I've drawn a Matryoshka doll, a nesting doll, because I think the paints lend themselves to a nice illustration kind of style because they are that bit more opaque. So I've drawn the outlines in Prismacolores in a slightly paler colour, so it won't be as obvious as if I'd drawn it in graphite pencil. And I'll go ahead and get painting that. So I leave it there with my Matryoshka. I think that's given me a better feel for the paints now. I found that I tended towards wanting to use it like gouache, quite thickly. There are some areas of the painting where I kept the watercolour-like tendencies. So here, on the edge of the shawl, I painted a very thin wash, and then it meant I could layer up and get some thickness for contrast. But a lot of it was full opacity. Definitely good fun paints. I think because they re-wet very easily, it can be quite tricky to layer them up. Obviously, similar to gouache, the underlayers do re-wet very easily. Yeah, it's nice to have a gouache type paint in this format, because I've only ever used gouache in tubes before, so it was quite fun just having them all out there. I'm not sure I'd use them as a replacement for my watercolour paints for doing translucent paintings, but I do think they are a great deal of fun. One thing I'll say is that, sorry, my lovely set is no longer pristine. The paints are quite shallow. I hadn't realised just how shallow they are. You can see here in the ecru beige and the pale pink and vermilion. I'm already at the bottom of the pan. I mean, there's still plenty left in there. The paints darken slightly as they dry, as with gouache paint. I think the palette itself as a whole works really nicely together. The vermilion looked like it didn't fit into that palette quite so well, but actually I think in the painting it gives it the contrast it needs with that pop of colour. With this muted Art Nouveau range, I think it's really well put together. The only thing I needed to add was black for the pupils of the eyes, and I used a Posca pen for that. The Posca doesn't work very well over the Gansai Tambi paint. It re-wets too easily. I thought I might add quite a few details with Posca or pigment deco brush, but I ended up doing the other details with paint. I don't think I'll be rushing out and buying the rest of the Gansai Tambi paints, but I'm definitely glad I've got this set. I think they're lovely colours, and I think it's a lovely, well, exactly what it says, somewhere between gouache and watercolour. So I hope you've enjoyed this video or found it useful. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye!